Hello, my name is Brittany A. I would like to introduce the second part of the tile-based project, which will be the combination of my beginning project, which is the lightning strike tile, and the combination of a second mechanic tile, which will add in a pure tile, which will add in another classmate's tile, which will be the key lock tile from a classmate, which I'm not going to pronounce his or her name and butcher it, so I have indicated it within the video by mentioning their name. So I'll go ahead and start the mechanics. So for the project mechanic and stuff, I continued working on expanding on the shock tile and the healing tile, where I kind of changed around some of the mechanics on them, which I added in a few different um, different things or different code to help out differentiation to help out with it and stuff a little bit better. But for some reason something still got a little bit messed up. So I'm showing right now the lightning strike tile, and the same goes for the healing strike tile. Moving on to the second part of the project where I use the mechanics of my peer, which I'm not going to try to pronounce his or her name without butchering it. So on that note and stuff, I began with adding in some functions into the player character, which is setting in the character with adding in a variable with adding in the key, and also, whoops, I forgot to open that up. And on the player UI, it's also adding in another box to indicate and show that the player has a key. So when the character picks up the key, it will pop up on there. Instead of a 0, it will pop up with a number 1. And then it will also come up, so that will show up on the player viewpoint. So moving on to the key, so what I did was, instead of using the floor tile like was shown from my classmate's file, I used actually in the entity interactable. So so it made it a little bit more different. So it's basically just a sphere sitting on the tile that the character can pick up. So basically and stuff, I just use the interact, where it calls the interact function. It's going to call a pickup function, which is, So the player will it will pick up the kid, it'll check to see if it's the player, and then it's going to check and see if the key can be added, and check to see if the key is if check to see if the key if there's a max set of keys, which I was trying to do multiple key settings, but for some reason that did not work out as planned. But here's the code base for what I have set up for the functionality for it. And it was supposed to pop up with a prompt on there and stuff if it failed. If it came up where there was too many and stuff, it would have popped up with there's too many keys and to add the key and stuff. It would check to see if it's the player and then take the key and or pick up the key, add it to the player viewport, and destroy the sphere. Then after that, the player could move on to the tile. Basically, it's the same code that's called for the when it's moving the box, just without the moving the box, the rest of the moving the box, where it'll call for the stamina, and if there's not enough stamina, then the player won't be able to pick up a key. As for the floor tile, which was just a simple tile block with some particle system, same functionality and stuff. Gets access to the parent tile and stuff. Checks to see if it's the player. Then it has it to where the tile will open, which will cause the basically the trickle blocks in the particle mesh to go up for the timeline and disappear, and then check to see if it can enter. And then once the player has entered, and they'll check to see if the player has a key, and do it once, and I'll open the tile. But for some reason, when the player faces it in the gameplay and stuff, it won't open until the player faces away, which I'm still trying to figure out why that's doing that. I plan to expand on the design a little bit more, which this is just one stage of the 3 maps. So that's pretty much it. I plan on fixing up some of it and stuff, and expanding more on it, and fixing up the code. Thank you.